Back on February of 2017, two teenage girls, Abby Williams and Liberty German, had made last-minute plans to go to the Monon High Bridge, which was supposed to be a teenage hangout with a historic trail and a really high old abandoned bridge. The two girls, who were best friends, just had a sleepover the night before and were excited when Libby's sister, Kelsey German, said she would drop them off as long as the two girls found a ride home, which they did. Although it was February, the temperature was nice for that day, and even though it was a Monday, they had school off that day. The two girls, Abby and Libby, would be dropped off just before 2 p.m., where they planned on only staying for a couple of hours. The two teens, Abby and Libby, would begin walking the 501 trail to the Monon High Bridge. As the two would approach the bridge, Libby, who had her iPhone, would take two pictures, one as they passed the first platform, and another which shows Abby looking down as she is crossing the scary, tall, gap-filled railroad tie. The girls didn't know it yet, but they were not alone. As a few hours would go by, the father of Libby, Derek German, would show up, but the two girls were not at the meetup spot. Thinking that the two teens just lost track of time, he would end up calling Libby's phone. The phone was ringing, but no one was answering. He would begin searching for the two teens, but when running into other people, no one had seen them. Eventually, the authorities would be called out, and this would lead to a search party looking for the two girls. But sadly, there was no sign of them on that first night of the 13th. With the search being called off late that night for safety reasons, it would be resumed early that next day. They brought in helicopters, divers, and many other resources to scour the area. But just around noon that day, they would soon discover a grisly scene. Authorities would discover the two girls across the river, and both had sadly been murdered.
All right, what's up, Mob Crew? Thank you guys so much for tuning in. For those that are new to the channel, welcome. I am Chris with Monsters Under Our Bed. We cover murder, mystery to the missing. And today, obviously, we're going to be talking about the Delphi case and Richard Allen. We'll be focusing a little bit on the confession and some other things as well. And of course, I've got a special guest with me, Steve from True Crime Web, who I will introduce here in just a minute. But as always, we always like to give back by featuring the missing. So today we have Tanya Lee Whipp, 38 years old, light brown hair, tattoos, went missing in, make sure I see that right, at the end of May of this year. So just a little over a month, out of Auburndale, Florida. If you have any information, you can call 863-965-5555. Once again, that's Tanya Lee Whipp out of Auburndale, Florida. 38 years old, went missing at the end of May of this year. And more recently, we have Dasha Fight. I'm hoping I'm pronouncing that right. Dasha went missing on June 17th of this year. So just 3 weeks ago, out of Boise, Idaho, just 15 years old, black female, brown eyes, black hair, 5'7", 150 pounds. If you have any information, you can call 911 or 1-800-THE-LOST, which is 1-800-843-5678. All right. So let me close that for now. Make sure that goes good. Awesome. So I'm going to go ahead and introduce my co-host for today. Hey, Steve. How you doing, buddy?
Fine, sir. Glad to be here.
Awesome. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. I hope you're having a great 4th, and hope everybody else is, and hope they have a great time with their families tomorrow.
Yeah, same here. So yeah, for those that may be new to yourself, you want to give just a little brief background on you?
Sure. I'm retired law enforcement. Had 20 years of service. Started off my career working in a jail, and then went in onto the road and eventually into investigations and became a state certified crime scene technician. I've investigated everything from simple crimes up to homicides.
Awesome. And we've been having you on just about we try to have you on just about every week on Monday, usually. And yeah, it's been amazing. Steve, for those that are kind of new to the channel, we covered the Alex Murdaugh case, and Steve knocked it out of the park, breaking down the crime scene. Just amazing. So, and then of course we've been working together, trying to find missing and cold cases. And Steve, we'll talk about some of those at the end of the show, but he's got some he's working on now and some more in the future. And I'll hopefully be out there as soon as I get done doing some doctor's appointments. But and we couldn't do it without your guys' support. So first off, thank you for everyone being here and taking the time out of your day to watch the channel. So today, talk about Richard Allen. Last time I had you on, they just released the documents, which was kind of a pain in the butt because they were not really organized. We still got through it, but there were some things that I knew we probably wouldn't be able to touch on everything that first time going through them. But now having a whole week and everything, we kind of now deep dive into all these documents, and there's kind of nitpick some things out. And one of them we'll start out with, obviously, the big talk is the confession. And obviously, I'm sure people in the chat and myself would like to kind of pick your brain on your thoughts about this. But there's one thing that I certainly missed, at least on that first day, and that was not only did he confess to his wife, but his mother. And so we'll kind of first, I'll read the context. I'm not going to read this whole thing, but most of it. And this is just taken out of the probable cause affidavit, which they kind of updated a little bit since the previous one here. But this talks about when just after he got arrested. So Richard Allen was arrested on October 28th of last year. And then his supposed confession was on April 3rd of this year. So we're going to go ahead and read this part here. So upon Richard Allen's arrival to the facility, so just as he'd been arrested, now keep in mind that they couldn't house him at the regular county jail because they just couldn't afford the manpower in Carroll County. So he is being held at the Westville prison. And so when he first got there, he was put on self-harm watch because certain statements he made about harming himself. Throughout his stay, now this is interesting. I think this will be huge and will definitely be brought up if it goes to trial. Throughout his stay, his mental health improved to the point that he was taken off self-harm watch. So when he first got there, he wasn't having any of it. He was, I'm going to hang myself, whatever. And then for whatever period of time, he began, his mental health got better. He started eating and he started participating in recreation time and began to exercise. So the facility reports that he was doing well and that he had no issues or concerns. Really, the only letter, if you guys remember, he wrote that he just didn't have money for, attorneys. He'd written a letter. That was really the only thing that I recall that he wrote to the clerks of the judge. Other than that, it was just issues about him not being able to afford an attorney. So his day-to-day demeanor was that he was quiet, read a lot of books, did crossword puzzles, and exercised daily. So, and then, so it sounds like his health's doing fine, mental and physical, up to April 3rd, which says April 3rd, 2023, Richard Allen made a phone call to his wife, Kathy Allen. In that phone call, Richard M. Allen admits several times that he killed Abby and Libby. Investigators had the phone call transcribed, and the transcription confirms that Richard Allen admits that he committed the homicide of Abby and Libby. He admits several times within the phone call that he committed the offenses as charged. His wife, Kathy Allen, ends the phone call abruptly. Soon after, his attorneys file an emergency motion, safekeeping order, because his mental health declined right after this day. And it said that this correction facility is unfit for him, and Allen is being deprived of his constitutional rights to assist in defense of this case. Basically, what I'm assuming any proper defense attorney would do in this situation. And so thoughts on this, and then we'll talk about the mother thing, and we'll get to that. But just the thoughts on your thoughts on how his mental and physical health is fine, and the confession that it's two. You want to?
Well, I know we were discussing earlier about how many calls were made, but I think this here distinguishes it quite clearly. If you want to talk about that also, I don't know.
Yeah, do you want me to finish, and then we'll? Yeah, that'd probably be better. Okay. Let
Okay.
me finish this. Add the extra part to it. So let me get to this one here. So this is the document that I didn't have a chance to go over last time, just because there were so many documents. So it's a state's objection, defendant's motion for order continuing disclosure of defendant's mental health records. Now comes state of Indiana prosecuting Nicholas McLeland respectfully objects to the defendant's motion for order to this mental health records. In support of said motion states the following. And number 8, it says that the defendant has admitted that he committed the offenses that he is charged with no less than 5 times while talking to his wife and his mother on the public jail phones available at the Indiana Department of Corrections. So there's a couple of questions. Was this one phone call, or is this multiple phone calls? And let me know what you guys think in the chat, how this is worded. I'll see if I can kind of zoom this up a little. Let me hide this. But your thoughts on this, Steve?
Like I said, I haven't had time to study these. I just got back from Florida, going down there to work on some cases. But anyway, in the first one where he, April the 3rd, on that first slide, it says specifically that he was on a phone call to his wife, not to his wife and mother, to his wife. So it's singular. In that phone call several times, and then it says his wife. So I would take it that that was the only person on the line at the time, for the fact that if it was to both of them, you would think they might list out that during a call to his wife and mother that happened. And then it only says several times. Which if it was, and that's a difference from 5 times to several times. So I'm leaning towards that's more than one phone call, that he spoke to his mother on a separate phone call. And when you add the two of them together, it comes up to no less than 5 times. But it doesn't say what date that occurred on, or if there is a difference in dates.
The second one where it talks about his wife and mother, it does not talk about a date. Although all the thing that I guess we can go off is in the April or the PC affidavit, it says after April 3rd, he does not call anybody else. Mm-hmm. It hasn't since, unless I guess it's his attorneys or something. Mm-hmm. But yes, that's let me see what the chat is saying. But when I read that, it's like it does not mention his mom in this one at the top here. So I've got both of them, both statements, the PC affidavit, and then the motion number 8 right here. And you also pointed something out that I spotted, as well as the way it's worded. And I'll read it one more time. No less than 5 times while talking to his wife and mother on public jail phones. Yeah. Phones multiple being phones. Plural.
Yes.
Now that could mean they just got multiple phones and they just wanted to make it plural, or is that because he had a phone call with his wife and with his mother?
Oh, I'm taking it more than one phone call, which is the defense could argue that there would be some type of confidentiality with his wife, although on public phones, it don't matter who he calls. Those phones are clearly, whenever you use them, they're marked. And then, of course, you have the whoever the voice that comes on and advises you that this call will be and can be recorded and is being recorded. All the inmates know that. And so anything they say, they know it's going to go to court.
Right.
And so he's given up. And as I've stated here a while back, I believe the man has recognized that, and he has entered a defeated state. And
Interesting.
And it's putting, he's done everything that he's pretty well done from the day that he contacted that conservation officer. He's painted himself in the corner, and he continues to do that with the defense attorneys.
Right.
They have a hard uphill battle, and he's not helping the cause. I can tell you that.
And Chris, not Chuck Norris. I love that name. He makes a great point. You might lie to your wife, but not your mom. That's so true. Do you think that even adds more that it's the mother he admits to doing this? Obviously we don't know the context, but if it is what it is on paper,
there's always been that golden rule: don't ever do anything that you wouldn't tell your mother. And which, of course, he did things that you shouldn't or wouldn't or ever expect someone to do and tell their mother. And I do agree with Chris on that. It is extremely significant to be telling his mother, because most, you just don't lie to your mama.
Yeah. Yeah. And 63 clocks agree. Seems like it was more than one phone call. It's what it kind of sounds like. Just the way it's worded there. But and then sorry, my phone's going off and distracted me. Where was I gonna ask? Go where I want to get a phone call where I'm in the middle of a thought. There was another comment I wanted to get to here.
Now they only talk about that. Now the other side of the coin is that when they said that they had the cell phone or the cell call transcribed and the transcript, that's singular form. So
investigators had the phone call transcribed and the transcription confirms. So would that mean for that phone call itself
for that
then?
one phone call and whoever and that's too bad, but they're talking about this specific phone call.
That could be. Yeah.
But now they might, if he called his mother, they would have that transcribed too. They just, for whatever reason, they're using that language.
Right. So now we talked about how this would look as far as if the person he confessed to, because we talked about this before the live show. This adds a little more weight to the prosecution because he's not confessing to, like a security guard or somebody, an employee that, could have beat the heck out of him or, the fact that this is to a family member now, not only his wife, but his mother compared to.
Yes. Yeah. Law enforcement and jail staff and wardens and all that, the defense can always say, you have an agenda. You want you want this individual to be charged with a case. You have a agenda to ensure that he's locked up. You're working with the prosecution. You're working with law enforcement to bring it into this case against an innocent man. Whereas mom and wife, they do not have that agenda. That is their spouse and their son, and their agenda, of course, is to protect Richard Allen at all costs from these charges. And so if he's confessed to them and they go to court, then of course, like I said, they don't have that agenda.
Right.
And it gives weight to, because I expect that he has confessed to multiple people, not only jail staff, but also probably some other inmates. And this will add weight to their testimony. Uh, these transcripts will.
Right. And then one other thing I was going to say is, I guess an argument, just to kind of play devil's advocate, could these confessions just be as such a conversation where his wife's nagging him, "Hey, did you do it? Did you do it?" And he just kind of says, "Yes, I did it. I did it. I did it." Kind of repeats it, almost like in My Cousin Vinny, where he's like, "I shot the clerk. I shot the clerk," and he keeps saying it over and over, and then they use that against him in in the jury or in the trial. And could that be the case here? Could he just be going, "Yes,
Well,
I did it,"
and
obviously.
and that would be a good argument. But we've got an individual says I'm on that bridge during a extremely tight timeline of when the crimes were committed, and then we have a expert for the state that says we located a unspent round that was cycled through Richard Allen's gun at the crime scene. So it's not someone that can say that, oh, I just happened to be in the area
Yeah.
at sometime during that day, but he was there during a very narrow window of opportunity. That the witness who met the two girls, and the last time they were seen, they were walking towards the individual on the first platform of where Richard Allen says he was standing.
Yeah.
And which is huge by itself. And then when you add on the unspent round, huge yet again. And now we have two confessions, one mom, one wife, and how many others we don't know. But
Right.
just to them, he confessed 5 or 6 times.
Yep. And totally agree, Olivia. Maybe his wife and mother were together on the call, singular, one phone call. Yeah, it totally could be.
Yeah, could be.
It's just weird that they mentioned his wife Kathy twice in this probable cause affidavit, and don't mention the mother. It just seems kind of odd. And then it's very specific in this probable cause affidavit. He even talks about how his wife Kathy ends the phone call abruptly. So it's very specific in that. So you would think if it's that specific, you would think they would add the mother in if this was just one singular phone call. So I would my guess would be multiple phone calls. That's just where I'm leaning, the way they have it worded down here. But either way, I think just having, now you've got two witnesses that are going to be used against him, his wife and his mother, if these are legitimate.
Well, the prosecution is going to use them as legitimate, regardless of what Richard.
Sure.
And I can't blame them. I mean, you've got an individual that time after time says, "I'm there. It's me. I'm there." And so we, that at first he was a witness that saw nothing. When he speaks to the conservation officer, he knows nothing. He saw nothing. He didn't see the victims, and he didn't take any pictures that day. And now we find out later that not only was he there, but he was on the bridge at a narrow window of opportunity within, because I've walked that bridge. The video you use of that trail.
Yeah.
From the midway point, it takes about, you're only walking from the intersection from the Mirrors parking lot to where the bridge is only around 500 yards. The midway point, so you're only looking at, and it takes somewhere between, it depends on what pace, 7-8 minutes to walk it. And when I was doing that video, I think it took me 7 to 9 minutes. I can't remember, but the witness that turned around and left the individual on the first platform where Richard Allen says he was at, she turns around, and within 3 to 4 minutes, she meets the two girls. And so, and they're walking towards Richard Allen. So we only have like a 3-minute window that Richard Allen has the opportunity to disappear,
right,
and not meet them. And that's what I'm saying. The timeline is absolutely so small that I don't think that the defense will be able to convince a jury that well, he totally vacated the area and was unable to meet the girls, or that the girls didn't see him, he didn't see the girls, and I think that's going to be a huge mountain to overcome.
Yeah. Katrina makes a great point. Yeah, I would agree. What's the meaning of several? This is wild. Several meaning more than two, but not many. Yeah. Then there's 5 different times. No less than 5 times.
Yeah.
So yeah, totally agree with that. Get to a couple more here. I'm assuming they have a recording to go with the transcript. Yeah, they have it already transcribed and everything. That wasn't released in the documents that were released, so we don't have the transcripts of that. Of course, people would be talking about that. That would be huge to know exactly what was said, because that could be a slam dunk case. Before we move on, I do have a poll going here, so I'm just going to quickly check on it. And right now, I've got just over 300 votes asking if you think there will be a trial or will Richard Allen make a plea deal. And right now, at 50%, we have no, he will make a deal, so no trial. 33%, yes, he'll go to trial. 17%, not sure. So half of you right now think there will not be a trial and he'll make a plea deal, which seems to me he's possibly throwing in the towel and maybe looking if they throw death, the DP at him. Will he make a plea for his life?
I agree. Absolutely. I agree. I've talked about that. And at first I thought that, yes, he could be able to overcome, although the difficulty of overcoming that unspent round, you'd have to make that into junk science, and the court would have to say, no, the bullet's not there. And of course, we know the bullet's there, but the jury would never hear of that. They would not know that the bullet was at the crime scene, which is huge if the defense can get that bullet taken out of evidence or be able to be presented. And then, of course, then all he has to say is that, hey, I walked off through the woods, and I just went down the embankment to the creek. But with that bullet at the crime scene, it totally puts a new angle on the how to explain that away.
Yeah. And I'll get to some questions, and I think I saw. Let me get to this, and then I'll get to James or James. Brenda, thank you so much for the $5 super sticker. That helps us out so much. Donations go a long way. It helps to support this channel, and then me and Steve, we split this stuff, and it goes to our Cold Case Foundation. And of course, before I forget, pinned at the top is the link to Steve's channel and also his website, True Crime Web. If you're new to my channel or his, please go show him some love and subscribe over there. But thank you so much, Brenda, for the $5 super sticker. Really helps us. We really try to put a lot of work into these shows. And let me get back to, I don't know if I can find it now. We got so many in here. Just quick shout out to my mods. And where did it go? I think I lost it. Danger. But Danger, oh, here it is. Danger is asking, how long does it take for the drop-off location? So the drop-off location, for those, I'm sure most of you guys know, but for those that may not know what the drop-off location, that's kind of like the 34th, not halfway point, but a little bit closer. It's right where I actually have Richard Allen's face. It used to be called like the Mears parking lot. It was like a shortcut. Took you right to the intersection of the 105 and the 10, the two trails.
The 501.
501. Yeah, my dyslexic mind. Yeah, no, when you're like, what? So this is where his head's at. So he is asking, how long would you think it would take to walk from that Mears parking lot to the
I
bridge?
did a video on there night where I played it from the time that I started the video walking from the intersection at Mears down to there, and I think it was somewhere between 7 and 9 minutes.
Oh, okay. I was going to say 8 to 10, so perfect.
Yeah, it's somewhere in that time period. And of course, it's at, I was flying my drone, walking behind it, but it was a steady pace.
Sure.
and at that speed. And the thing you have to realize is that when you're standing at the Mirrors parking lot and you're looking down that trail, you can see to the midway point. I mean, you can see 200 and something yards.
Okay.
And so it's a straight line, and then there's a little slight curvature to the left. And at that point, when you go around that curvature about midway of it, and within 20 or 30 yards, you're starting to see parts of the bridge through the trees. When there's no foliage, of course, is an easy view. But in the springtime, when there's foliage, of course, you have to be closer. So there's not a lot of time that anyone would be out of sight from the midway point to the bridge. And so Libby and Abby, if they met that lady at the midway point, they were almost in view of Richard Allen, and they would have been in view of Richard Allen within seconds of that woman seeing. And that's what I'm saying is that if he turned and looked up the trail, it's almost an impossibility that less than 3 minutes, you're only talking really seconds that he wouldn't have been able to see them. And the window of opportunity is too small.
Right. Yeah. He would have to be Houdini too, unless he just went for the tree line or something. But there's just kind of a look at it.
You'll see it. That I don't know how far you run.
Yeah, I don't know if this video shows. This video just kind of talks about the witness's description. I do.
Great shot right there, and it's all the way up to almost the midpoint, and then it starts cutting her a little bit back. If you're walking the way he's walking, it'll cut back a little bit to your right.
Yeah. Yeah, it should be coming up to. Yeah, I think I cut it to where it was just after the intersection, I think. Okay, moving on, but we'll get this question in and then we'll move on to the next part. Question is the unspent bullet convictable evidence or even valid evidence at all?
If the court allows the expert to go in there and give and he qualifies himself as an expert and says that unspent round came from that gun, and of course the defense are going to go out and get their experts that says no. But if the jury agrees and gives weight to that expert, it's absolutely something that a jury can convict someone on.
Interesting. And they took his 6 hour, took another clip of their own, fired around, or no, they just ejected. Because they didn't fire. They just ejected a round, and then matched up the grooves, right, to one bullet to the bullet that found at the crime scene, and then they ejected a bullet out and checked the grooves, right? Basically,
I can tell you something else that most people don't realize. But when you send a firearm to the crime lab, especially one that was used in a homicide or possibly used in a homicide, that gun would be fired for the fact that they will fire it to see if there's any unknown, unsolved cases out there with a spent bullet that's been recovered from a victim or a crime. And that way they could match up any characteristics of that fired bullet to a victim. So they wouldn't have to fire it, but if they didn't, I would be shocked because that's what the crime labs do. We send in so many guns that we took off of felons that they would check and see if they were used in armed robberies or homicides. And just because there's no indication that the gun was fired at Delphi, the crime lab would still fire it and check and see if there's any characteristics linking that gun to any other victims or crime scenes.
Interesting. Miranda says the more time that goes on, it seems like he won't go to trial. Right now 50% think maybe he'll plea out or something. It'd be interesting. Will the families be okay with the plea deal? I guess it depends on what's.
Well,
I'm sure
at the end of the day, everybody wants and everyone to be on the same page, but at the end of the day, it's up to the prosecutor to absolutely make that decision. And then, even regardless if the family wants it and the prosecutor wants it and defense wants it, the judge is going to either accept it or not.
Yeah, see, Brian Kober case, great example. You've got family members kind of divided, apparently, with the death penalty. Some want it, and some, at least, I know 2 families want it, and I think I can't remember which family, but one of them I know for a fact doesn't want it. So yeah, it's got to be tough that they're kind of split on that. One who sees, good to see you. Sorry, for whatever reason, when it comes to StreamYard, I can't pull up your 6-month membership, but I did, for the members, I updated the symbols next to your names, so you'll either have a 1, 2, 6, 12. That equates to the months that you've been a part of the channel and supporting this channel. Of course, they don't have every single number, but welcome, and I'm so happy that you hit that 6-month mark. That's awesome. Okay, keep going on, and I've got some more stuff to ask you, Steve. Let me just get caught up in chat here. We got over 600 people. Thank you so much, guys. And if you can, just hit that like button. That really goes a long way supporting this channel. Derek Fisher, thank you so much for the $3. Derek Farmer, I'm sorry.
Hey, Derek.
Derek Fisher is a basketball player. I was a huge fan. I thought it was Fisher. My apologies. Derek Farmer, thank you so much for the $3 super sticker. And what's up, Fig Solves? Hey, Karen, hey, Mullen, thanks. Good to see you, Fig. Recently did a video on matching the audio with Richard and BG's audio, which was interesting. Great video. I wish I would have known about the little voicemail Rick thing, because yeah, I'd like to do those videos too. So I found that fascinating. So great video on that. Definitely check that out after the show. Okay, so moving on here. Let's see here. Boy, we got a lot. Let me know, mods, how the chat speed is, if it's good. All right, so one of the things I wanted to mention, something a little more minute, but I wanted to bring this up, get your thoughts on this. So this is kind of going back to the probable cause affidavit and one of the witnesses and their descriptions. A lot of them describe either blue or black jeans and or sweatshirt. This one in particular, she says she advised the jacket had a collar, which is very specific. So the outside jacket did not have a hoodie, it had a collar, and he had his hood up from the clothing underneath his jacket. She advised he was wearing baggy jeans and was taller than her. But she says it was either blue or black windbreaker jacket. And most, like I said, the 2 colors that come to mind with these witnesses is blue and black. And so I just wanted to kind of get your thoughts on this. And let me go through. I've got a couple of more slides before I ask you this question. But clearly in this video, we see some brown. We got what looks like a brown hat and something brown kind of hanging down on the right side there. So I thought it was kind of interesting that no one mentions any kind of brown. It's always either blue or black. And so I wonder when he was walking up until he got to the girls, or at least when he passed the 3 juveniles, now this is the best example I can find, is do you think it's possible that he had the windbreaker or, the inside hoodie over the small brown bill cap, which obviously this is not the best example because this has got a big bill on it. But if you had a hat with a short bill, if you had your hoodie over it, you wouldn't even know the guy's got a hat on. You know what I mean?
Oh, yes.
Especially if it was Ivy cap, which they did recover one. And I know we kind of mentioned it on our first day. We were going through the documents, but I don't know I think we were kind of running through them so fast that it didn't hit me until after our live show. But they did recover a small brown hat, what they call is a brown fitted hat with a small bill. So to me, that sounds like the Ivy hat that a lot of people assume think that he's wearing here. So the question is, let's see, so yeah, when they went to search for the search warrant, they put in what they want to look for, and they mentioned two things as far as the clothing. They want blue sweatshirts / jackets, black sweatshirts and jackets, but they don't mention brown. They just mention blue and black. Now, is that just because that's what the witnesses saw and they're not really too focused on what's in the video?
No, I think, well, the video, there's always been discrepancies about
Yeah.
if there's been any editing, and
Yeah.
I don't know. Hopefully, at some point, in court we'll find that out.
Sure.
Because in the probable cause affidavit with Richard Allen, they never mentioned that they was looking for a fanny pack, and they never mentioned they were looking for this brown clothing, like you said. And now with Ron Logan, of course, they mentioned fanny pack, but with Richard Allen, they do not mention fanny pack in the probable cause that I've seen so far. Now it may be out there, I just hadn't seen it yet.
Yeah.
But they're totally focused on that dark clothing and jeans, because
Yeah.
they took dark clothing, jeans, and all his phones and knives. So by taking and making note of those knives and those clothing items, that's what they're looking for. That's what they're going to take to trial. And if there's any cross contamination from the victim's crime scenes of their DNA that he was unable to clean, or if there's any presumptive test that they're going to conduct on his clothing that can link him to a crime scene, it's going to be done.
Let's see. Did I get this out of order? Did I not put that in there? Oh, I had one more to go with this. All right, let me pull this up. This is just kind of the second last part to this. And this is kind of let's see, where is it? Not the one that I wanted. Let me look in this one here. There it is. Okay. I just wonder if by chance this guy, because I've dressed up as him many times, just trying to figure out what the hell this damn thing is. It's bugged the heck out of me. Now knowing that, learning that he had 2 magazines for this gun, do you think that's possible? This could be, and this is obviously not original idea. People have mentioned everything since day one.
Yeah.
But do you think you could kind of see maybe this being something like this, not just a gun holster, but with an extra mag? Because the gun holster is kind of shorter, but when you have the extra mag and where it's kind of set, could you see that as a possibility?
It could be. I don't think that it is, but it could be. I mean, I've been wrong before, and I may be terribly wrong on this one too. But not everything that it's so pixelated and over such a distance.
Sure.
And of course, I have some holsters almost identical to what you just showed. But I don't believe it is a holster, but it could be. And like I said, it wouldn't be the first time I was wrong.
Yeah. Because I mean, that's for those that have been with me for a long time. I've dressed up trying to see if I could get any idea of between the fanny pack and a brown hoodie underneath. But the fact that everyone mentions blue and black, I'm almost pretty sure it's some kind of blue or black hoodie underneath, which means and I don't think it's a fanny pack. So because I would think if it was visible to the girls, if it was a fanny pack that was visible, now it could have been just hidden, but if it's a fanny pack that's visible, I think, in my opinion, let me know, Steve, I think that would be one of the first things those girls mention is a fanny pack. They would have, that would be the first thing, like, because
they mentioned him being they described everything else about him, but they did not describe a fanny pack.
Yeah, so that's why I'm like, I don't think it's fanny pack, because those girls, unless he had it wrapped over, and it's possible, but the coat looks, I mean, it's tough to tell, but it doesn't look like the coat would have wrapped over quite well. It looks kind of short, but we don't know. So, and that's just my kind of 2 cents on that. I know you could go a million different ways with this damn photo, and everybody has.
And
but I just kind of wanted to
I've committed myself along the path, and I may be absolutely wrong, but
yeah,
I think there was some editing.
Yeah, no, I Yeah. I definitely agree. Let me get caught up in chat and then we'll move to the next thing. I just wanted to bring that up just because I thought it was interesting. Like if those girls, if he had a fanny pack on and if it was visible, those girls would have mentioned that. That'd be the first thing. Be like, oh my God, this guy's got a fanny pack, man. You know, he's got a fanny pack.
Oh yeah,
So,
my daughter. That's why I used to have fanny pack. My daughter always. I can't believe you're wearing that.
yeah, yeah. So, oh, you're welcome, Brandon. Good to see you, Bulldog Mom. Good to see you, Molly, D-Dez. Let's see. That's a good question. Ty's Kitchen, do you think this was his first rodeo?
Yet for me,
Yeah, go ahead, Steve.
I think that he has other crimes. What those crimes are, I do not know. But I
Interesting.
do think that he does have a dark history for the fact that, like I said, you just don't wake up one morning and
50,
commit such
yeah.
a crime without
45.
some type of issues past. And there's other different types of crimes he might be involved in that may or may not include homicides. That give Christina blue
Oh,
out
sorry.
there.
Didn't mean to.
But yes, I do believe that he does have some type of criminal history in his background. It may not be known to law enforcement, but I believe he was active in other types. That's just my opinion.
Yeah. Interesting. I'm leaning towards this is his first time. That's what I'm leaning to, but I definitely could be wrong. Christina Struff, sister to Carolyn, our scientist. She went out and helped us with the. Now I got my mic all tangled up. She went out and helped us with the Amber Crumb case and has been a wonderful addition to the team. Thank you both for being awesome distraction during my recovery. Had a little micro back surgery. Hope she's doing much better. I think between you two, it's basically 24/7 true crime coverage, and it's been just what I've needed. That's awesome. Thank you, Christina. And she got me this little McGruff doll, little German Shepherd. I've got the little tag that was given to me by Aiden Clune's mom. He's got that on. So thank you so much, Christina. Karen, chat speed's good. Okay, good deal. Almost caught up here, and we'll get moving on. Trying to get a couple of questions as we go through. And of course, for those just tuning in, for those that do celebrate it, happy 4th of July, just around the corner here. And Stefan, he thinks it could be a camo hoodie underneath, and that's not a bad theory, actually. Some multicolored underneath. I could definitely see that as well. And I kind of agree with Todd. I think we both agree. Reviewing the 48 frames from the BG video, it's clear that the color was added to the shirt in multiple frames, suggesting that the brown shirt is likely fake. Could be. Me and Steve kind of. Yeah.
Todd and I have discussed this, and
have you? Oh, okay.
Changed emails and everything about that.
Yeah.
And so Todd and I have went into great detail on that.
Yes, I am dyslexic. Yes. Yeah, it makes for a great live show because I'm human. I have flaws. Yeah, but yeah, I am dyslexic. Okay, keep going on. Got quite a bit in here. Trying to get caught up in here. Just about. Holy Hannah. Golfer or shooter towel? Golfer or shooter towel? Interesting. Golfer or shooter towel? Huh. I'll have to look that up. All right. All right. We got True Crime Talk with Frank Meister. Good to see you. As always, honored to have people in here, fellow true crimers that cover this case. So now, question for you, Steve. We heard from HLN's report. They supposedly took pictures around the garden, inside the shed. would they put that in the search warrant or probable cause? Well, actually, it'd be more search warrant. We don't hear anything about pictures taken. Would that be left out? Would that be in a separate?
Oh yeah, I guarantee you there's hundreds, if not thousands of pictures made. The crime scene, well, the search warrant itself, you'll go around, you'll check that residence, you'll take pictures of every resident, of every angle of that residence, all the outbuildings, the vehicles, entries, exits, and then when you go into the rooms, as you secure evidence, you document everything about that house as you can. There's going to be, like I said, thousands of pictures made.
Show and tell.
Show and tell. This here is from one vehicle. Just from the driver's seat. And so,
oh my God.
And so, and there's, I don't know, hundreds of pictures. And then you have so for a whole house and for a search warrant and things. And if wherever they recovered evidence, or they took anything or they seized any item, there's a process from identifying that item, documenting where it was recovered, time it was recovered, photographing it in place, and sealing it and bagging it, tagging it, and getting it ready for the evidence room to be processed. And then when it gets to the lab, it's photographed again. So there's going to be hundreds, if not thousands, of pictures. And they wouldn't put it in there that we took pictures on the return as far as evidence. They would just mention the items. Now they're going to have pictures of all those items that they took.
Right.
Where they were hanging in. If they took a shirt out of the closet, they have a picture of it.
Yeah.
If they took a knife out of the outbuilding, they took a picture of it in that outbuilding, and they would have documented it all.
Sure.
But they just wouldn't put it in the return of the search warrant that, yes, we have it photographed in place.
Gotcha. Okay, that makes sense.
At least it is here in Georgia. I don't know how Indiana does it.
Big Soft says, I can't think of a reason why law enforcement would take the time to edit the color of the shirt. Well, I would say, and this, I think I brought this up in the last live, and this, and I can't take credit for this because this is kind of taken from somebody else, but if he was, so just wondering if people are just wondering what we're talking about. Let me just pull it up here. There we go. If by chance he was brandishing that weapon in this video as we're talking, I thought it moved for a minute. I'm like, I have it paused. If he has brandishing this weapon in this, clip, even in this part here, but they didn't want that detail out there. And I think that just in case if this did happen, that would totally make sense. They want to keep that information close to the vest because let's just say if they released that they knew that a gun was used from the beginning, would have Richard Allen had gotten rid of his 6 Sauer, and if he had gotten rid of his 6 Sauer, would we be here today with that unspent bullet being kind of like the big piece of the pie here? If they knew that there was if they mentioned unspent bullet and or gun, which is why what's another thing the reason why I always thought they didn't play any more of the audio is because he mentions some kind of authority or he mentions gun and they didn't want that. And I could totally see the gun being edited out just for the fact because if they mentioned that, would he have thrown that gun away? And would they still have enough? Maybe. I mean, they would still have enough, but that unspent bullet, I mean, that puts him there. That puts him beyond. That puts him at the crime scene. It doesn't put him, with the girls. That puts him, right, Steve?
Yeah, I don't think they wanted a gun to be on anyone's headline that bridge guy is seen brandishing a gun walking across the bridge.
Yeah.
Bullet is recovered from the crime scene. Everything that would tell. Now, of course, Richard Allen, if it is him walking across the bridge as bridge guy, then of course he knows he has a gun. and he knows it more than like, and he would know if this is edited, and he would know that why did they edit it out, and but he may not have realized that he did drop a bullet. He may not realize that there was a bullet at the crime scene. And there's people
Right.
arguing that it's part of the signature. I don't know, but there is the possibility of that he could have dropped a unspent round and not known it at the crime scene, and seeing this that well, they don't have enough image to identify that gun, so I don't have to get rid of it. But
Right.
I do think that they edited the firearm out. That's just my
Yeah.
personal opinion.
Yeah. I totally respect Fig. Fig doesn't think so, and I it's kind of 50-50. But yeah, I've seen because we've had obviously private
Doug Carter
conversations about
mentioned that it
this.
looked like a shirt to him. In one of what was it, Dr. Phil? I think Doug Carter says it looks like a shirt to me. Don't you
Yeah.
think? And or I think it's something along those lines. And of course that's the first time. And he didn't say it didn't look. He didn't say it looked like a fanny pack. He said it looked like a shirt.
Yeah.
And I, like I said, I get a headache every time I think about the two sketches and the shirt.
Yeah. But yeah, and like I said, it's a minute thing. But it's just something that's always been talked about, and yeah, it bugs the heck out of me. Like I said, I'd lean towards something that's got some volume to it, and they just kind of use that to blur a little extra thing out. So I think it's still originally there, like some kind of gun holster, but they used a little extra brown to cover out the gun. I do think that's possible.
Yeah,
Um,
I recreated a video of it just doing that specific thing.
Oh, I think okay. So he kind of misunderstood what we were saying, not just edit the gun out. Got it. Yeah, yeah. So it's a little combination of just kind of blurring out. If the gun was kind of out a little bit, they would just add that brown in right there, so it just still looks like whatever item it is, and that would totally make sense. And that way, they kind of keep that detail out, and that totally makes sense. Like I said, I can't remember who mentioned that. I'm sure many people have mentioned that, but I think it was on Court TV saying, they would have thrown that gun out, or they'd thrown gun out in the headlines, and he threw that gun away, would we be here, as strong, with prosecution feel as strongly as they would? I mean, with confessions, now it's a whole new ball game, but yeah. All right. I'll get to some more here in just a minute. So big question. When Richard Allen was arrested, and you got, what was it, the prosecutor saying that there's more than one actor involved, yet we have not heard anything. I was kind of sure a lot of us were maybe hoping maybe some kind of hint as to a possible accomplice or somebody that just indirectly involved somehow. So let's just say if there was an accomplice to these crimes, like a getaway driver. So you dealt with like a robbery with the jail, and there's two people involved. You got a getaway driver, and you got Richard Allen, who went and robbed a bank, shot somebody, came out, and the getaway driver. Would they mention that in the probable cause?
They would probably mention it somewhere, and that's one of the confusing things about this when the prosecutor says that we are looking at actors, other actors,
Yeah,
and
it's
it
probably where.
created that just absolute so much interest. Are there other people? And but no, they don't have to mention it because these probable cause affidavits are focused on either the arrest of this one individual,
Right.
and on the search warrants for this one individual's properties and his vehicles. So they don't have to mention accomplices. Now, if there does at some point, if it does go to the down that path that there is an accomplice, he'll be noted as in singular form too, that this is what his involvement was, and
Sure.
they may or may not connect him to Richard Allen. I don't. I always thought that there is the possibility, and I still think there could be the possibility of an accomplice, but it does appear more and more every day that Richard Allen is a lone wolf.
It does. It's kind of wild after just kind of, with everything with Kegan Kline. I mean, they're literally going to have to change the definition of coincidence, and put his picture in there. But absolutely crazy. Oh, here comes my motorcycle neighbor. But I guess you guys can't hear that. That's good. Rainy Days, awesome shit, amazing show as always. Thank you so much, Rainy. Thank you so much for the $5 super chat. You are so awesome. Help support us. I've got a second part to this, so let me just get caught up in chat. Hello, Carolyn from Unearthed Secrets. For those that kind of joined me recently, I've been covering that Titan sub case, which is very fascinating. She just did a video on it. Absolutely amazing. So if you're interested in that Titan sub story, she just put a video out. Please go check it out. It's absolutely very interesting. The blur comes from the zoom pixels, and it definitely, yeah. Well, what it is it's a compression. So I did a video just talking about what we're dealing with, and this is really compression. You got out of focus, you got glares. In this particular instance, this is what's called compression, and this is really due to, yeah. My motorcycle. He knows I'm live. God. Pause it here. I'm just trying to turn the mic.
You still, yeah.
How about that?
Now, there you go.
All
We
right.
hear you now.
All right. Technical difficulties happens with the best of us. All right. Get back on track. Yeah. This guy got a new motorcycle like right after I moved in. I'm like, God, this is gonna be a headache. But yeah, we talked about the differences. Or like I said, I did a video just kind of describing what we're dealing with. And one of the things is with the iPhones, and this may not be the exact reason that's like this. There's couple of different ways, but what happens is the phone's recording in 1080p or 720p. I think that at 1080p or at HD quality, obviously iPhone 6s or whatever. But what happens is it sends it to the cloud, and when it gets sent to the cloud, and especially in the earlier days of iPhones, to save and store data and size, they would compress them. So instead of having a big file size of a video, it would be much smaller because they compressed it. And so when you go to retrieve those videos, you used to have to click a certain box saying uncompress these so I get the original format back. But if it's not clicked, you'll end up with something like this. So this is shot in 1080 or 720p. Now you're getting it just compressed. And yeah, you get worse than VHS quality because it's just in a compressed data form. So kind of interesting. Okay, moving on. Another big one. There is no mention of the Wabash River search. Do you think it's connected? If it was, why do you think they left it out?
Man, we looked at it, and if there was a connection, and if there is connected, of course, then that links declines into it, and because everybody was looking at that, and was Kegan trying to work a deal, and is he trying to work a deal? And there's still possibilities. Regardless, there is information indicating that he had catfished Libby. And so with that information, of course, he's a criminal and he has some involvement with this case. But they were just trying to see if he was if there is a link between the offender and Kegan Kline being at the crime scene, for the fact that there's a lot of information through that transcripts that everybody looked at hard, because there were certain times that still are unexplained, that and coincidences of what Kegan Kline was doing during specific times of the crime, and it's still confusing. We just don't know what it means yet.
Right. But yeah, so fascinating. The amount of work they put into that Wabash River search. My goodness. Of course I couldn't find it. But I mapped out on a calendar all the days they were there and what days they worked. And they left literally on a Tuesday, where they were spending weekends at a nearby motel. So it wouldn't make sense for them to just quit in the middle, at the beginning of a new week. Clearly they found some stuff. There's been talk that they found a couple of items, but yeah, just so fascinating. Not a word mentioned about that. And then with Kegan Kline, he just made this plea deal. There's nothing mentioned on his side about that. Now I don't know if you would get that anyway, because it never went to trial. So, but just weird. It's like it's just kind of, it's almost like it didn't happen. It's so weird.
Well, I mean, you're dealing with an individual that preyed upon children, has lied his whole life as a catfisher of who he was, what he was. And so you're trying to rely upon an individual as nothing but his whole life is a lie. And then he's trying to come up with information regarding a homicide that can help his case, and he can lie his way out of something else. And therefore you have the issues about the Kline's involvement with this. And it's just another headache for law enforcement and for the prosecution. And it will come up in trial. The defense will, if it's not connected, they're going to make the greatest waves they can.
Oh,
It's going to be huge.
that makes sense. Yeah, throw whatever they can, see what sticks. Totally
Yeah.
makes sense. Danger says, in my opinion, the Wabash River search should have been part of the probable cause affidavit. Yeah, it's weird. It's not in there. What is this? Part of the more actors? Is this something bigger that we just obviously will eventually, hopefully, find out one day? But
Oh, we will.
yeah,
I believe we will. Even if it doesn't go to trial, we're going to find out a lot.
yeah. Now this is a great, and this is something I think I wanted to ask you when we were going over the original documents for the first time. Still can't get over the evidence listing showing 18 different mobile phones seized. So this guy is definitely, in a way. Now we've seen his home. We've seen, like, there's at least one or I think two videos of his home. Unfortunately, I don't have them right now, but the house looks pretty clean. I mean, yeah, there's one video where they're in the living room, and then another one where I think they're maybe in the kitchen or something. But it sounds like he is a hoarder, but he's not. But he likes to keep electronics at the very least. So I wonder. So what my question is for you, Steve, is, and then the knives, got 20 plus. I mean, it depends on what you call a knife. The multi-tools, you want to add those in, 25 plus knives that they recovered. But with all these phones he's collected, I don't know if that's hoarding or whatever, or would that be a sign that there's more likely that he's going to keep everything, that maybe, like, if he took a trophy, he's going to keep that stuff?
Well, it's possible, and of course that's what law enforcement. That's why they seized them. They didn't seize them just to see some of the information that I don't know if these phones will be able to be brought back up, or if or how much information. But they'll look at it, see when they were purchased, see who purchased them. They'll do everything from the digital footprint of those and whatever memory is possibly in those, because some of those phones probably use SIM cards and
Yeah.
back in the day and everything. And so they'll be looking at all the information contained on those. And if he made certain searches or certain phone calls and contacts for certain individuals, or he took pictures of a crime scene, or he took pictures of other uh, um, uh, potential victims. I mean, there's so many different ways that information on those phones could be used for the prosecution if it has anything nefarious in it.
Right. So kind of getting closer towards the end of the show. If you got some questions for Steve, we only get him once a week. So try to throw one in. If you can, put a question in, and we'll see if we can get to a couple here. We'll go for about another 15 minutes. And you just get caught up in chat while we do so. Now, that's a good question. Would he confess to protect another person involved? Would he confess to protect another person involved? Oh, I see what you're saying, to protect somebody. Like an after the fact accomplice. So kind of like a getaway driver.
Anything is possible.
Sure.
But, I think that there were certain individuals that he may be related to that suspect him at some point. That's possible, but would they ever use it? And what, the family's involvement of who supports him and who doesn't. And I have no clue. But I think his wife's been going to all the hearings. So obviously, if she's going to the hearing, she is some type of support for him. And that's to be expected. I don't, families, there's people are, in some cases, are able to keep such dark secrets. Look at BTK's daughter,
Oh, yeah.
BTK's wife. Absolutely. They did not realize, didn't know. So I try to be as understanding of the families until you have proof. Now, if they have proof, that's a different story. But if they don't have proof, we shouldn't be going there.
Right. Victoria Jones, what about another case in another state said maybe linked to Delphi, the older couple? I know you're talking about, I can't think of the names off my head. It's definitely possible, especially you believe that it's possible he's done something before.
Well, there's a lot of different lesser crimes
True.
that people might do at night. You have people that will, voyeurs and things that will walk and do certain different types of fantasy-driven crimes, even commit certain burglaries or thefts. I think even Ted Bundy, he would go in stores and just steal stuff. And there's a lot of different other crimes that people can might do from the peeping toms on. So there's some that I'm not saying that he has a whole closet full of skeletons and victims of homicide, but I do think that he has some serious issues and serious crimes in his past.
Oh, I edited that one part out. I was going to pull it up. So, Lori, how far from the crime scene from the bridge? So, if you can see here, let me see if I can do this. Oh, well, actually, I might have to hide your comment. Then I can do it. So, where our heads are at, that's no better. So, you can't see my mouse, can you, when I'm playing a video? No, you can't.
No, I can't see it.
But see where the river is winding, you have the taller trees. It was just on the other side of the river, and no more than 50 yards, 50 feet from the river.
I think from where they were abducted, it's somewhere. I'm going off 2,800 and 1,200 feet, somewhere's in there from where they were abducted and where they were found at the crime scene.
Yeah, I don't know if this is just a short video of one of my bigger videos that I just did the story timeline, but unfortunately I didn't circle it. It's there, it's just not in this video here that I've got. But yeah, it's not far. They were just on the other side of the river. I could always pull it up. So while I'm pulling that up, get to some more questions. Come on. Close that up. Oh, perfect. is he looking at? So that, oh, I gotta zoom in on this one. So this would be the bridge here. Let me go back in the date because we can see a little better. There we go. So there's the bridge, their last scene. They would have gone down this hill. Would have came, or no, oops, sorry. Let me go back this way. This would be the end of the bridge here. It would fall down this path here and either run or he'd force them across, and then they would be found. Something approximately like this area here. So the bridge is here, and this is where he catches up to him, and then he runs them kind of down the hill. And also another thing I don't think I kind of went over on Wednesday when we were going through the documents that wasn't in the original probable cause affidavit, nothing huge, but where her phone was found was under her body. That was something that was kind of speculated on as to where it was, but Libby's phone was actually under her body. That wasn't in the original.
Yeah.
So
I know a lot of people are asking about that, but there could be a lot of, things that go on at crime scenes and during struggles and those horrible crimes. Things get misplaced, get up under leaves. And things can happen, and we just don't know all the details of processing the crime scene of what they found.
Yeah. And I totally agree. I think, and some of these phones, it could just be, because obviously the older phones, you couldn't really retrieve the photos off of. You could have photos, but so I could definitely see some of those phones, him hoarding just for pictures or whatever. Totally could see that. But obviously they're going to take any electronics. They want to see what he was, how many times has he been there before? I'm sure that's going to be huge if they find out he's been going there. And what's interesting is this was on a Monday. And so apparently with the interviews done by some former employees of CVS, which is where Alan worked at. Now, since he was I'm trying to think through the title here, shift leader, shift supervisor, first shift leader, supervisor, something like that. He was not a lab technician. That was something that was cleared up by some people. So I thought that was interesting because that was reported many times that he was a lab tech, but that is not the case. But what's interesting is, so this person has an amazing interview. Somebody that worked with Ellen at one of the older stores, and no, she didn't work with him in Delphi, but she worked with him in, I think it was Mexico or whatever, Mexico, Indiana. But what's interesting is, I guess the shift leaders, weekends are their busiest time, and that's when they need the shift leaders. So they're going to probably work most likely a Wednesday to Sunday, and then they're going to have like a Monday, Tuesday, or Monday, Wednesday off type deal. So they'll usually have a weekday off, then a weekend off, because the shift leaders, they need them on their busiest days, and their busiest days are their weekends. So he would have normally had Monday off, usually. So see if we can get to a couple of questions here. Doesn't include butter knives. No, they didn't recover butter knives, but just about every other knife you can mention, they recovered. A lot of folding knives. There was one in there that was mentioned. It was sealed in a box, cardboard box. It was a fairly large knife. It just says large knife, wooden handle, dull blade, or rusted blade, excuse me. I thought that was kind of interesting. I was found in the garage. For any questions here, got so many, and as always, just one more time, for those that may be new to my channel or Steve's, my co-host for today, Steve from True Crime Web. The link to his channel is posted at the top. Please, if you're new, go over to his channel and subscribe. Show him some love. Amazing guy. We've been working together for almost a year now, which is crazy. And we've got some cases coming up. You're working on a case right now. Do you want to talk about that for a little bit? What's coming up, and I'll find some questions.
Well, we're about to head up on another. I've got 2 cold cases I'm working on. One in Indiana that is still private, but I'm also going to the memorial up in Iowa, Evansdale, with Lyric and Elizabeth. Drew Collins. They have a memorial every, which was on the will be July the 13th. But the weekend on the 15th, they have a car ride and a fundraiser for the Elizabeth Collins Foundation, which is a great foundation. If any of y'all wish to support that, absolutely do so, because the Collins family, they use that funding to go out and help other victims and children that have been victims of homicide. And I'm going up there to do some work with, and Ruckus Rocks is going to join me, and we're going to go up and do some work while we're up there also on the case.
Yeah, that's awesome. Shout out. I think I saw Ruckus in here. So shout out to Ruckus. Also, former law enforcement as well. History underfoot. Did he make them cross the water so it would be harder to track them when people looked for them? I think they ran and he had to catch up to them. What about you, Steve?
Well, I've been to the crime scene, and standing on the crime scene, they weren't hidden. Once you cross the creek, of course, they're just there on this plateau. And once you go up that embankment, and it's just a bowl, and of course, the backside of it, going up towards the cemetery, is extremely steep and hard to navigate terrain. But while I was there at the crime scene itself, the family who lives across the creek from where the abduction occurred originally, he was driving up the driveway, and he's probably 75 yards from me, but he stops and looks straight down on the crime scene. And in that type of foliage, they would be absolutely visible to anyone that was in that position on that driveway that was looking for them. And so they wouldn't have, and actually I think they were seen from across the creek when they were discovered by the search party.
Interesting. So this was not the spot that he probably was intending to take them.
But where they wound out, like I said, it wasn't where they wound up at. It wasn't hidden. It was, like I said, you could still see them from across the creek.
Yeah, and another thing they do kind of clarify again. I think in the Ron Logan warrant, we kind of learned a little bit about it, but yeah, some of their clothing, underwear was missing, so that it could give you some ideas on the possible. Because a lot of people wonder why. I mean, that's gotta be the biggest question. Why do this? And what was the motive? And that could be kind of part of the answer. Was it he had ill intentions, and but unfortunately, just things got out of hand, and he couldn't handle 2 girls, and those girls fought like hell.
Yeah. Hopefully so, and hopefully they hurt him, and hopefully they have DNA somewhere at some point that will be found.
Yeah. And yeah, this is a great segue. Chris and Steve, do you think he'll make a plea deal to avoid the DP? I still think he had accomplices as well. Go ahead, Steve.
Absolutely, that is on the table. I would imagine it. I don't know it's on the table, but I would imagine that is an option that we see it often, where the prosecution puts it on there and then they withdraw it once a deal is made. And if that's the case here, if that's what they want to do, that's fine. If the family and the prosecution goes that route, what type of would he have to state to the court? Would it be like BTK going up there and explaining each of the victims and the situations and the how he was able to accomplish those crimes. Hopefully that would be the case, but there's no guarantees.
Yeah. Does anyone know the case that was mentioned earlier that's unsolved might be related to Delphi or RA? So either the older couple, which I can't think off the top of my head, but I'm sure someone in chat can
They
mention
put
it.
Stevenson case from Kentucky.
That, yes. And then Evansdale's obviously one that's always been kind of brought up just because two girls. But you don't think that's related?
No, not once
The
I visited
Evansdale
both.
one.
Yeah, once I visited both crime scenes, that was it'd be extremely. If we have evidence that Richard Allen had great knowledge of Evansdale, then that might be different. But we have no one has linked him to that area.
Yeah. And when is his court date? His court date is January. It's the first or second week of January, and it's slated for like 4 weeks, 3 or 4 weeks. But I'm sure if it does go to trial, I'm sure it's going to be much more than 4 weeks. I could see a good 6 weeks, 6 to 8 weeks on that trial. I did end the poll because it kind of about stood the same. So 51%, but it's basically pretty much half of you think that this will not go to trial and will some kind of plea deal will happen. So it'll be kind of interesting what happens. So once again, I just want to say thank you to everybody. I wanted to say thank you to Julie who donated something the other night, Cash App, and Kelly as well. Oh, I think I got one more. And Carol, thank you so much for the $10 donation. That is so awesome. And like I said, we couldn't do what we do without your guys' support. And like I said, Steve is literally out there. He just got back, literally just got back, and then getting ready to go out to Evansdale. Yeah, so amazing. So,
July, I've got somewhere between 4,000 and 6,000 miles on the calendar of travel, so I've got a busy month in July.
Yeah. And that's what we wanted to evolve this channel into, is not just covering true crime, but actually going out and helping people. And we've been doing that since, I started last year, but me and Steve have been doing that since March, and it's going to continue. And like I said, we couldn't do it without your guys' support and donations. So thank you so much. Final thoughts, Steve, on everything that we covered today.
Well, like I said, Richard Allen is the greatest aid that the prosecution currently has. Everything that he's done, and I believe he has painted himself into a corner, and his defense, has he told them of his crimes? And if he has, of course, there's no obligation on them. They don't have to say, yes, he confessed to us too. And that's not to be expected. But he has painted his team, and he's done, I think, irreparable harm to his defense.
Interesting. Yeah, that's tough, especially if it is more than one phone call. If you guys missed the first part, we kind of talked about the wording. There's the probable cause affidavit that talks about his wife having a conversation with his wife, but then there's this motion that mentions that he made no less than 5 confessions while speaking to his wife and mom. So is that more than one phone call? So that means there's possible multiple phone calls. And yeah, just absolutely wild. So yeah. Once again, I want to wish everybody a happy 4th of July. For those sponsor that are members, we just did a members live show yesterday. It was really fun. We're going to do a bloopers video for the members next week. Everybody was going nuts when I mentioned that. So that'll be made. I also have a Patreon page, which you can support me as well. Everything that I can, I put towards the equipment we use for the missing. So with that said, I hope you guys have a wonderful night. Steve, I guess I'll put you backstage. Thank you so much again for coming on.
Thank you. Appreciate it. It's been an honor. And y'all stay safe out there and see y'all soon.
All right, buddy. I'll put you back there. And yes, and it's in the beginning of the new month. So if you're kind of newer to the show and you haven't sent in a picture of your pet, we like to do a pet outro for our viewers. And so I'm going to go ahead and play our most recent one. And you can email me at jointhemobcrew at outlook.com. And we'll get a new one worked in with the pictures of your pets. So with that said, I'm going to sign out. I love you guys. Have a safe, happy 4th of July if that's your thing, if you're here in America. And we'll see you guys Wednesday.